traditional medicine, holistic medicine. They don't see the world the same way, but they do agree on one thing. Attitude is everything. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Adventures in Good Health, the place where we discuss natural approaches to good health. I'm your host, David Maloof. On this show, we often compare and contrast the differences between holistic health and traditional medicine. Sometimes the two approaches do agree. And in one of those instances where they agree is that attitude matters. Attitude is a thing, and having a great attitude, having a positive attitude, has a positive effect on one's ability to heal. So, let's deep dive into positive attitude. Today, my guest is Fitz Kohler. Fitz is a fitness innovator. She's also an author, a public speaker. She does race announcing, and she is a cancer crusher. Yeah, I have a funny feeling this is going to be a very interesting conversation. So let's jump right into our conversation with Fitz Kohler. Hello, Fitz. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, David. I'm so happy to be here.
So, Fitz, our audience loves stories, and they love to know the people that we have on the show. So can you walk us through just a little bit your journey up to this point?
Yeah, so I am a native Floridian. I've spent my whole life here. Hooray for the Sunshine State. Family woman. I've got 2 kids, 2 dogs. I'm a fitness pro. I've built a career out of helping people live better and longer. And I do that in some unique ways. I'm not your girl in the gym. I used to be when I was in high school and college. But since then, I've focused on anything that allows me to reach the masses. I crave mass impact with all of the work I do. So I spend most of my time working on TV, radio. I write books. I write for magazines. I have a large online presence, and I do a ton of corporate keynote speaking and race announcing. And so in late 2018, the end of December, living my best life, I had a clean mammogram. Went in, I came out with a clean bill of health, and I said, yay, everybody go squeeze your stuff. And then about 7 weeks later, I was at a race weekend. I get out of the shower and I rub my under boob. And ladies, you know what that is, your under boob. And I rubbed it and I found a sizey lump. And I thought, oh, heck, I know exactly what that is. And so I made the phone call instantly. Within 30 seconds, I had my gynecologist on the phone. She said, can you come in tomorrow? And I said, no, I'm running a race tomorrow, but how about Monday? And so scheduled it for Monday. And from there, I had some appointments, the mammogram, the ultrasound, the punch biopsies, where about a week after that first appointment, a surgeon called and said, Fitz, I'm so sorry, but that mass in your breast definitely is breast cancer. And you also have several cancerous lymph nodes. So it is running through you like wildfire. It is very aggressive. Wow. We need to treat you immediately. And they did.
So was that scary?
It was
that phone call?
Yeah, it was terrifying. I mean, the phone call itself, I already knew I had cancer. You know, you have these hunches. I knew what it was. And interestingly, I hadn't told my kids what was going on, and I had to leave that phone call and go straight to a college counseling appointment with my daughter. And so she had no idea. So I had to keep my poker face on throughout that meeting, try to focus on her. But in my mind, I was thinking, oh, will I ever get to see her graduate high school? Will I get to see her go to college? Will I be in on all of this? And it was definitely terrifying. I had no statistical evidence to the fact, but I was convinced I was dying. I thought, well, I make the perfect example of health and happiness and a great family and a wonderful career. I'm definitely going to make the perfect tale of tragedy. So that was gut-wrenching. And boy, I was sad about losing my own life, but really the thing that was torturing me was losing my kids' lives. I just wanted to be there with them. And I know all parents can identify with that, where I just thought, oh, screw my hair. I mean, I was sad to lose my hair, and I did, but it was losing their lives. So Yeah, tough times, especially early on. The fear was extraordinary.
So you mentioned that you lost your hair. So
Yeah.
that was a result of the treatments that the therapy program that you were on. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I had I had 15 months of chemo, which is a very long time to have chemo. And unfortunately,
Yes.
I survived, so no complaints, right? But chemo was brutal for me. It obliterated every cell in my body. I went bald and my hair started falling out within 11 days, and I lost it in grand fashion on a stage at the finish line of the Los Angeles Marathon. A huge chunk of it blew off of my head. On that day, I had 33 rounds of radiation. I had surgery, and I'm 15 months later, I got to have my final chemo and celebrate. But the whole experience was rough, to say the least. And sadly, millions of people go through cancer care. So I had breast cancer, but it's very similar to someone with ovarian cancer or bone cancer. There's all these commonalities. And one of the things I did, even though I suffered like everybody, I made some really, really good decisions up front that changed the way I lived during cancer and the way I live after cancer. And as a result of those decisions, I have 3 books out right now that are helping cancer patients and survivors globally. And, it's important for us to control what we can when we can, no matter what the circumstances, right? Your house burns down. What can you do that's positive for you? There's
Right.
a lot of things you can do, whether it's cancer or loss of a pet or you lose your job. Can you control certain elements of your life? You can, and you should.
And now a quick word from our sponsor, Dr. Tate's Herbal Tinctures and Tonics. Dr. Tate's offers the Herbal Blood Tonic, Doc's Detox, Herbal Male Tonic, Herbal Female Tonic, and the Herbal Fat Burner. If you would like to order your tonics or learn more information, you can go to drtates.online. And if you click the link in the description and enter the special promo code Adventures in Good Health 2024, you will receive 10% off your entire order. For more information, click the links below. And now back to the show. So you went through the 15 months of chemotherapy.
Yeah.
I guess I should say, you had mentioned that you were, it's not just the post-cancer, but how you were living your life during the therapy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious because a lot of our listeners, they have to go through chemo.
Yeah.
And so then the next question is, all right, so now how do you bounce back from that? Because that really kicks your butt.
So there's a few elements, David. So number one is prepare your body to do battle today. If you already haven't gone through this type of crisis, know that your health matters. And if you are strong and fit going into any sort of illness or injury, you will be so much more likely to endure it well and bounce back quicker than if you were kind of overweight and out of shape, right? So your health matters. Focus on it today. But when I was diagnosed, once I got through the initial chaos, I made 3 big decisions. 2 big decisions, or we're going to say 3. There's 3 because I still got chemo brain. I decided, number 1, cancer wasn't going to steal time with my kids. It was going to steal my hair. It was going to steal some of my good feelings. It was not stealing time with Ginger or Parker. So if they had a show, a ceremony, a sport, I was going to be there no matter how shitty I felt. Can I say that? I'm sorry. Yeah. How crappy I felt. And then
We're keeping it real.
Okay. Well, I can go as real as you need. The other thing I decided was that cancer was not going to steal my career. And so where so many people say, oh, you're sick, hide out, cover up, wear a mask, disappear while you're God forbid you get a cold during cancer. What I thought is, screw that. I have worked my tail off to build this career that I adore. And my career is good for me. It is good for my soul. I've earned my rightful spot on those stages that I command, but I knew that if the Big Sur International Marathon was taking place and I was not there, I would cry all weekend. I would just grieve. So I wasn't going to let cancer do that. And so, and I also committed to health and fitness and mental fitness. There's these decisions. So instead of staying home during 15 months of chemo, I boarded over 30 planes out of Gainesville, Florida, to go fly all around the country to host hundreds of thousands of people, whether I was doing keynotes or race announcing. And, it was interesting. Getting on those flights was brutal. It was brutal. And my most impactful side effect was that my digestive system was chaos. Imagine living with a stomach bug or a food poisoning every day for a year and a half. That was my life. I was a catastrophe. So travel was hard. And I'd get on a plane, I'd go to point B, and then my race directors or whoever was hosting me, they would arrange for IV fluids. We'd have nurses come to my hotel room to give me hydration because I was always so dehydrated. And so I'd often sleep on those hotel bathroom floors. And I was, the world was spinning. But at 4:30 a.m. on race morning, my alarm would go off and I'd drag my lifeless body off that hotel bathroom floor and I'd get dressed and I'd get on out to the start line. And sometimes I would think, holy mackerel, how am I going to do this? But miraculous things happened. The second I stepped onto those stages, every single thing that was wrong with me disappeared. I wasn't sick. I wasn't exhausted. I wasn't suffering. All I was focused on these extraordinary events and these incredible people. And there was so much joy. I mean, I'm fortunate my career is just this adrenaline boost. Just crazy to stand in front of 20,000 rowdy runners that are excited to go do something. So they fueled me. I fueled them. And it was just miraculous that if I was on a stage at a start or finish line and I had a runner out on the course, I got to be full force Fitz Kohler again. I looked a little different than I used to, but I got to be me. And then when that final runner would cross the finish line and my work was done for the day, I could feel my body just start shutting down. But that was incredible. So my kids brought that out of me. My career brought that out of me. And, those were decisions. I could have just stayed home. And if I did, all I would have been was sick. Instead, I got to go have adventure and I tripled my business in that year. Instead of allowing my business to just disappear and Fitzness go away, I tripled it. So, good things can come of bad things.
So I'm getting all these questions are starting to bang around in my head as you're telling your story. First of all, race announcing. Now this is not health related, but what is involved with race announcing?
Yeah, so I man the start and finish lines of some of America's largest, most iconic running events. And I'm usually the cherry on top. So it's a race that has a certified course. They've got great medals, the big start and finish line structure, often thousands of participants. Most of my races are pretty sizey. And when all those people arrive on race morning, I'm there to greet them. So I'm on a tower or a stage right next to the start line. I play killer music to get people excited. I get them engaged, informed, entertained. We talk. I tell them about what to expect during the day. And we have fun. We joke around, me versus 15,000. It's all ha, ha, ha. And then I whip them into a frenzy. I yell go, and I send them off on their adventure. And then when they come through the finish line, I'm there. Technology allows me to welcome most everybody by name. I welcome the champion like a champion and make them feel like this is the greatest thing they've ever done on earth. But I make sure every other person across that finish line also feels like they won the day and they're the most important person on earth. And it's just a great gift. Being a fitness pro, so much of my time is spent twisting arms trying to convince people to exercise. And on race day, these organizations say, here, Fitz, here's 20,000 people that think exercise is great and they're going to do it today. So make sure they have a good time and feel fabulous. And that's what I do.
So you were doing that.
Yeah.
While you were going through your cancer treatment.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned you even lost some of your hair.
All of the hair. I was, instead of being the noisy blonde, I was the noisy baldy on those stage. And I never wore a wig. So I was come as I am type race announcer. But my race directors were so supportive and the runners were sweet. So yeah, I was bald.
You mentioned attitude. Obviously, you had a fantastic attitude. Do you feel that helped you with your recovery?
Absolutely. Here's the deal. I'm human. I'm not a robot. I suffered and it was stressful and I cried. I cried probably every day. And when it would hit me, I'd go in my bathroom and shut the door. I'd go in my car and cry. I mean, I didn't want to overwhelm my kids with grief. So I would try to keep those things. I'd get it out and then I'd get on with it. That's what the Queen says. Get on with it. Right. So I was very human, but I also chose perspective right off the bat. And so before cancer, I used to say, it's not cancer, it's just a car, we'll fix it, or it's just a whatever, it's spilled milk, who cares? And then it was cancer, and I really had that opportunity to choose to be a victim and have a pity party. And then I thought, well, golly, there's all these babies down the street from me at the UF Health Pediatric Oncology Unit, and how lucky am I not to be a baby or a kid with cancer? And even more importantly, how lucky am I not to be the parent of a kid with cancer? And so for those reasons, I chose to be grateful. I chose like, okay, I've got cancer, but at least I'm a grown-up with cancer. So perspective rules my world. It has since the day I was born, and it even did during chemo. And that attitude really did allow me to push forward and do things that were nice and try to avoid a lot of the over drama. Cancer is dramatic. It's okay to feel sad. I don't think it's okay to bask in grief. I don't think it's okay to just wallow in it. You got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, and you're the only person going through it. So I had so much support. I had a loving family and friends and people that would give their right arm for me. But you know what? They couldn't. I had to take 100% of those pokes. I had to take 100% of the drugs and the zaps from radiation. And even though I had support, it's a very lonely experience. So that voice inside my head had to be a powerhouse on my behalf. And you say you like stories?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm claustrophobic. And if you've ever had an MRI, it's not a good experience for claustrophobic people. And if
I can relate.
Okay. So, well, if you've never been in an MRI, basically it's a tubular scanning machine, and they put you on a bed, they lie you on your back usually and shove you in, and it's a very tight space.
And you got to stay still.
Huh?
And you have to stay still.
You have to stay perfectly still, right? And it's not only the tight space, but Thor comes on the outside and he bangs his hammer. It's like boom, boom, boom the whole time. It's just not a good time, especially if you're claustrophobic. So I go in for this MRI, which, because my cancer was moving so quickly, it really was like wildfire through my body. They had to push me along very fast to get me started with treatment. I had my port put in on, I think, a Friday morning, and then Friday night I had to go get this MRI before starting chemo on Monday morning. Again, it was boom, boom, boom. So I show up for my MRI, and I'm feeling very kind of mousy and apprehensive because I know MRI is intense. And I get in there, and the lady says, okay, and she seems nice at first. She's very sympathetic to my anxiety. And she says, okay, get up on the machine, on the bed, lie face down with your arms above your head like Superman. And I say, no, I'm supposed to lie on my back on this thing. She says, no, not for a breast MRI. Lie on your face, arms above your head. And so she doesn't give me any time to prepare or anything. I just get up and I do as I'm told. My hair comes all down. I have very long hair at the time. It's now hanging over my head. There's this little face cradle that's kind of like a dollar store version of a massage face cradle, just this little weird thing for you to put your nose and your mouth in.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I get in position, she takes these plates and she clamps me down by each boob. It's boom, boom, clamp, clamp. And now I'm pinned by the boobs face down on this board. And I'm starting to get wound up internally thinking, oh my God, this is bad. And then she shoves me into the machine, and I lost my freaking marbles, David. I tell you, I am a type A. I'm very well controlled. At this point, there was screaming and crying and begging and flailing, and I'm all flailing while pinned down by the boobs. Please let me out. So she does, and now she's yelling at me. Now she's saying, you know what?
Oh my goodness.
I stayed late for you, and you need to have this done, or they're not going to start chemo, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just saying, please just let me pull my hair back, and let me take off these socks, and let me just crack my back. And so she does, and then she lets me back into the machine. She pushes me back in, and my instinct is to scream and flail and cry, but I can't. I know I have to stay there. And so one of the greatest things happens ever, because what I could have done for 45 minutes in that machine was think about how similar that experience is to a coffin and what it was going to feel like when I die from this disease. There was a lot of horrible things that could have gone on, but instead, Fitz Kohler inside my head, she said, you know what? you can do this. You have done hard things in the past. You have raised 2 great children. You have built a global business. You used to be a competitive kickboxer. You can do hard things. Just hang in there. You can do this. And like a little psychopath, that voice in my head, she just kept going and going and going, and I needed her. And so, if you walked into the room and you saw me there, you would just think, oh, Fitz is having a nap. She's just lying there. It would look like nothing. But the inner turmoil was so intense, and she just kept reminding me what I was capable of. And eventually I had said, you can do it enough that the banging stopped and they let me out of the machine. And what I learned that day is that I was constantly going to have to do things that terrified me if I wanted to survive. I'm also a needle phobe. I mean, it really wasn't a good experience, right?
Okay.
But that voice in my head, she had my back. She was the reason I was able to walk into the cancer center 21 different times to get chemo that I knew was going to ruin me. But I did it because she said that I could. And it's the reason I lied down for radiation and surgery and all of those things. And so, the moral of the story there is, folks, you have to be your greatest advocate. You have to be your best friend. If you're someone who's constantly tearing yourself down, you're not good enough, you're not rich enough, you're overweight, you're out of shape, blah, 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 you that's not okay. You have to be able to convince yourself of your greatness. You're the only one who can do it, because one day life's going to punch you in the mouth and you have to convince yourself to get right back up. So, that was a bad time, but it also prepared me for the rest of my treatment. And now, post-cancer, everything's so easy. Everything's so easy. Everything's wonderful, and everything's not cancer. So all of my days are great.
Yeah. So when we think in terms of natural approaches to good health, it starts right here in the mind. There has to be, it starts with I hate saying attitude, but a lot of it is attitude, because I suppose if you needed your MRI, and I'm not an expertise on that process, but if someone just can't do that, I don't know if they sedate them, if the patient is sedated or something. So now you're adding another level of chemicals to your process just to get an MRI. And so taking that mental approach just prepares your mind, it prepares your body. It means you don't have to depend on other things. You limit. So you personally had to go through a lot to your cancer treatments. But it sounds like your mental fitness, mental preparation played as big as a role as your physical preparation.
You are 100%. And the other thing is, I hold my mental fitness so in such high regard. I don't like to be loopy. I like to be in control of me. And so there were plenty of opportunities where I could have asked for some Xanax or anxiety medications. I don't like to do that. I want to be in control of me. I want to know that, if there's an explosion down the street, I can get myself out. My kids both have asthma. If they start having struggles, I want to be mentally capable of supporting them. So I didn't take that support that they would have happily written prescriptions for. But a sound mind is essential to getting through all of this nonsense. Yep. I truly believe that.
It's a mindset.
You're
and
right.
So, but there could be some people listening in our audience who are facing situations.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't have the attitude, the positive attitude, the positive outlook, but they're listening to the show or other shows. They're reaching out. They're trying to figure out what are some of the other approaches, and maybe they're not getting it from their friends or their family. Through your experience, you wrote some books.
Yeah.
So you're sharing your experience and some of your life experiences.
Yeah.
Can you share with the audience a little bit about what that's about?
Yeah. So I like that we're focusing on mental fortitude. So my memoir is my noisy cancer comeback, and this is all the gory, juicy details. I lay it all out, and people tell me with this book, they say I cried a bit, but then they laughed a whole lot more. I think cancer can be funny, and mine certainly was, because it was so outrageously weird and all these bizarre things happened. But, the message there is perspective, number one, where everyone can adopt that. There's someone who always has it worse, and if you focus on that, your day might be a little better. You got to choose to be positive. That cantankerous attitude doesn't get you anywhere. And then most importantly, you have to pursue your passions. So my passions, my kids and my career really lifted me out of so many dark places. And, mine are kids and race announcing. Fine. Maybe yours is soccer and crocheting or accounting or whatever it is. No matter what goes wrong in your life and things will hit the fan, you don't avoid the things you're really good at or the things you enjoy. You lean into them. If you like to play piano or guitar, allow them to be this respite, this place for you to have some peace and entertainment and enjoyment. And, even if you're sick in the hospital, I get it. You can't go play soccer or tennis because you're in the hospital. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can watch a soccer match or a tennis match on TV. Maybe you could read a book about it, and those things will lift you up. But perspective, forcing the positive attitude, even when things suck, and then pursuing your passions no matter what. If you include that instrument or that art or whatever it is in your day, you're going to have a better day. And then the other books, this is one that I'm really most passionate about, Your Healthy Cancer Comeback, Sick to Strong. And so there is absolute proof, endless amount of data that shows you can weaponize exercise and nutrition to make yourself more likely to reach remission with cancer and less likely to have a recurrence. And so why not control what you can? When you're put in a dire situation and they say, you got a 57% chance of surviving this thing. Well, could you exercise and eat wisely and make that a 67% of survival? I think you can, and I think you should. I think you should use all the weapons you have when you are fighting something as dastardly as cancer or diabetes or heart disease. And so this book is not only filled with the how-tos, it's written in layman's terms, it's easy, mm-hmm. It goes through each area of treatment. So if you have someone you love who gets diagnosed today, get them this book today. They can start using it immediately. And it's filled with all sorts of photos, so you're stuck in exam rooms, right? For hours. I went from normal life to doctor's office life. But instead of just sitting in the exam room doing nothing, I got up and I stayed busy and I kept my body moving. And there's a whole bunch of fun ideas for people on how to exercise in bed, how to stretch in the shower, yada, yada, yada. And then the third book is The Healthy Cancer Comeback Journal, which journaling is proven to be a cathartic way to heal from Lord knows what's going on. It's full color. It's got tons of fun prompts. I mean, many of the prompts are simple and serious, like your diagnosis, your treatment plan, etc. Mm-hmm. And then some of the prompts are about faith and family and friends. And then some of them are, what celebrity do you look like bald? For me, I got a whole bunch of funny answers, but the most frequent celebrity I was compared to was crazy Britney Spears. So I thought, thanks. We all
whatever
have that.
It takes, right?
That's right. If you go bald from cancer, you're going to get some whopper feedback, especially if you go wigless like I did. So I even got Grace Jones, and I thought, really? All right, I'll take it. She's gorgeous.
Grace Jones is cool.
Yeah. So there's a couple of differentiators for me and Grace Jones, but whatevs. Sinead, obviously. But yeah, crazy Britney Spears. That was my doppelganger when I was sick, and that made me laugh. I always enjoyed that.
I suspect I would probably be compared to an eggplant or something like that.
Perhaps.
It'd be a nice eggplant.
You'd get someone cool like Kojak or something like that. You'd get some cool comparisons, I have no doubt.
So I've noticed that your books have a high rating on Amazon.
Oh.
It really, what you're teaching and what you're sharing is resonating. Is it like a handbook?
Well,
I mean, like your journal, for example, is that like a handbook, or is it more of a collection of hints or helpful suggestions?
Very different. This one, My Noisy Cancer Comeback, is pure story. And I get into all the wild and wacky stuff, all the details. And what I like is people say, God, that gave me courage to do the thing I needed to do, and also gave me some pointers on like what happens when your fingernails rips off. Here you go. Your Healthy Cancer Comeback. This one is the guidebook. This one is the how-to instructional for dealing with chemo, radiation, surgery, transplants, etc. All of that stuff is in here. And then the journal is just, that's a workbook. That's a place for you to write down your experiences.
So we will have links to all your contact links, and as well as links to your books in the podcast description, as well as the YouTube descriptions. What is the best way that someone can reach you?
Oh, well, that's a great question. So fitzness.com is my home base for everything. That's FITZNESS. So the fitness with a Z in the middle, fitzness.com. And there's a ton of articles and videos and recipes and tools people can use to become more fit today, and any type of person. My books are on sale there. If people want autographed books, buy them at fitzness.com. And I also sell them on discount in the 3-pack. So you can get them wherever else books are sold, but on fitzness.com is the greatest place. And then I'm at Fitzness on all social media channels. And well, I promise quality content in exchange for the follow. What I'd really prefer is if you reached out and said, I heard you on David's podcast, and I'd like to be friends, because I would much rather have friends than followers. So feel free to use the comment section, say hello, and that would be meaningful to me.
Well, Fitz, I'm a big believer that natural approaches to good health starts in the mind. And I think that the message that you are giving is an important message. People need to hear it. I think that they need to explore, that approach. And I just love what you've done. I certainly spent time on your YouTube channel. You have a vast library of information on your YouTube. And I love that you've also made your expertise and your experience accessible to people through your books and through social media. And so thank you very much for coming on this show. I just love everything that you're doing. Wow.
You are so sweet, David. And I appreciate all of that kindness. And you know what? I fell in love with fitness early on, and really I'm so passionate about just helping people live better and longer. That's who I am. That's my sole focus. And the opportunity to, when cancer came around, I never thought I would write books regarding cancer. Golly, that was so far out of my wheelhouse, but now it's very much in my wheelhouse. And there's millions and millions of people just being brutalized that really have no idea how to handle the situation. And if I can help them get through it and make that easier on them, and help them recover and get back to point B, get back to being normal and vibrant and even athletic sometimes, then what a great gift. Thanks, cancer, right?
Wow. Thank you for that inspirational story, Fitz. That was utterly fascinating. So, to my audience, if you're still watching, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for liking and for commenting. Now, but I'm going to ask you one more thing. Right about there, somewhere down there is a button called subscribe. I need you to click the button that says subscribe, because when you subscribe, you'll be notified when we post new videos, and we have a ton of new content coming our way. But it also helps with the YouTube algorithm. Whatever it does, apparently it helps the channel, and we could use the help. So thank you very much. So until next week, this is David Maloof signing off, exploring natural approaches to good health. That does it for this episode of Adventures in Good Health. We would like to hear from you regarding this podcast and any suggestions you have for future podcasts. Please subscribe and leave a rating or a review.